The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. It is Friday here in the United States. It is the Friday before a three-day weekend. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how we get through, because everybody else goes, woohoo, it's a three-day weekend. And sometimes for autism parents, that means a really long weekend when you don't have support services. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And we've also got some really great experts with us. Now, I usually on Friday, I'm excited to share with you Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, who is the head of research and development at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. Dr. Tarbox is not able to be with us today, but we have another superlative guest taking his place today. So Catherine Peters is going to be here talking with us. She's from the Institute for Behavioral Training, and she's going to be talking with us about e-learnings in particular and how we can be getting more educated and use that time at home, perhaps this weekend when you don't have as much services, finding the time to get something a little bit stronger shored up in your house when you don't have services. And these e-learnings can really help you with that. Plus, there are lots of different ways to use the e-learnings. So we'll be talking about that with her later on. And of course, usually on Friday, we have Dr. Adel Najdowski, and we will have her answering a question from a viewer yesterday about feeding in just a little while. But remember that this show, we talk about autism from a 360-degree perspective, all the different ways that it affects our lives. And boy, it does affect our lives in lots of different ways. And, excuse me, we really want to take that on in whatever way is substantive for you. So the most important thing that I want to leave you with in this moment is that this show is meant to be interactive. It really is driven by you and the people who write into us. So Emily's going to show you some of the different ways that you can write into us and interact with us. I'm going to remind you that autism-live.com is a great place to watch us live. It's not the only place to watch us live now. And you can watch us live on your tablets there and utilize the live feature. There's a white box on that side. It allows you to put your cursor there, type up to 1,000 characters at a time. If it takes more than 1,000 characters, hit enter and then start a new one, right? Send us as much as you want. It's totally free. You don't have to log in. There's no credit card. Nobody gets to know who you are, including me. I have no idea who sends these emails in unless you, these messages in, unless you tell us. So feel free to, if you want to, include an email address where somebody can get back to you. If not, that's fine too, because we love the fact that it has the option for it to be completely anonymous. If you do send us an email, I have a way of editing it out before I show it to the audience at home. So don't worry about that. We're not going to let everybody know who you are. And as I said, it's free. There's no credit card. We don't know who you are. But by the way, if you'd like to get information, if you do want to be on our mailing list, the only way that you can do that is to sign up for our free newsletter. The newsletter comes out in the first week of every month. It is just one page. It's very colorful. You don't need to print it, though. You can just look at it. It's one page, very user-friendly. And I definitely think you should subscribe to that newsletter now, because we're going to be including information in it in the next couple of months. We have a lot of just amazing amount of giveaways for things moving into the holiday season and through the holiday season. We've had a lot of companies recently. We put out the call and said, hey, you want us to give away stuff? We'll be happy to give away your stuff. And they are giving us stuff by the droves. I have boxes of stuff in my office. I'm so excited about it. I love giving away free things. And it's good free stuff. Can I just tell you, I just got shipped shivers because it's really good stuff. And I know as an autism parent, and that was my next little thing that I was going to remind you, I'm not an expert in autism, I'm an autism parent. My child was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He's now 10. We're moving into the close to being 10.5. And do I know how tough it was for us in those first few years, and how scarce money was, and how you really needed to strategically be planning your dollars about, okay, we have $3.12. Are we buying groceries, or are we going to make it this doctor's appointment? You know, and I do recall trying to figure out how we were going to make it work a couple of times. And when you get free stuff, man, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, right? So I'm thrilled that we're going to be giving away some toys and food, and GFCF food, and good GFCF food. So, okay, so all of that and more, but sign up on the newsletter so that you can have access to that. All right. I think I've just about covered all the things we got to start with, so it's time for Jargon of the Day. This is the time of day when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to make sense of it for someone who has not gotten a degree in psychology, someone who has not gotten a degree in autism. Did you know you could do that? You can get a degree in autism now. I know it's a frightening world we live in. But great that people are doing it, right? So our phrase today is expressive language. Now, earlier this week, we had receptive language. Here's the deal with this, because you're going to hear this so much. You're going to hear this from your teachers at school. You're going to hear this from ABA professionals working with your child. And it's really essential that we know the difference between expressive language and receptive language, and that we have a sense of which one is stronger for the child, because that's going to drive some of the different things that we do to help them to get caught up. So we talked about receptive language. It's what comes in, right? It's like recept, you're receiving it. So if you're saying to a child, come here, how are they receiving that language? Does it actually sound like come here to them? Do they understand what come here means? Expressive language is the opposite. It's them expressing themselves. It's what goes this way. So let's take a look at our actual definition here for expressive language. The production of language, including speech, signing, and or gestures for communication. So it isn't just this idea of vocal speech, right? When you express yourself in lots of different ways. I'm using my hands right now. We gesture to people and say, sit down, right? By the same token, when we're talking about receptive language, it isn't just the language that a child hears. Can they understand gestures and facial expressions? That's all a part of it. So that's our actual definition, a somewhat watered down version, a little bit more simple to understand. Our working definition is the child's ability to communicate their needs. We talk all the time on the show about the fact that, let's face it, we all want vocal speech for our children. Everybody does. Absolutely everyone does. We know that for most of our kids, that is absolutely attainable. For some of our kids, for whatever reason, and sometimes we can pinpoint it and say this is what the difficulty is. Other times they've not been able to pinpoint it. Some children on the autism spectrum will not reach the point where they get vocal speech. But all children on the autism spectrum need and deserve functional communication, all of them. And the old idea that if a child was non-vocal, that they were non-verbal, that they did not have the ability to communicate, we really have to put that to rest and remind ourselves that there are so many examples of kids that were thought to be completely non-communicative and weren't ever going to get functional communication, and they proved everyone wrong. The example that comes immediately to mind is Carly Fleischman. And she, her family was so diligent and tried so many things to get her child to functional communication. But when I think she was 10 or 11, when somebody who was working with her had a keyboard next, and there was no functional communication until this point. They had a keyboard next to Carly. She pulled the keyboard onto her lap and wrote, "Help, my teeth hurt." This was a young lady who had extreme receptive language abilities and was taking it all in and had finally found the way to express it. So we don't give up on anyone in terms of expressive language, and keep reminding yourself that that has to do with all of the different things that could be functional communication. And it's absolutely essential that we work on making that a possibility for all of our kids. And I want to remind you again, it's important to know where your child's expressive and receptive language abilities are. Sometimes they're equal and even, and sometimes one is higher or lower. Imagine a child who has great receptive language, low expressive language, like Carly Fleischman. That's going to be a child who's picking up all kinds of things and has no way of communicating it. Imagine the frustration of that. Imagine how angry and how many things you would do to get your needs met if that were the case. Then on the flip side, sometimes we have kids who have high receptive language. They can monologue, they can talk, they can, tell you all their needs, they can gesture, they can do all that stuff, but their ability to understand what you're saying is very low. Like, for whatever reason, their ears aren't decoding what they're not getting the information. That can be strengthened, by the way. But for that child, imagine how the world treats them, because they seem to be really intelligent, and they are, and they can say all kinds of things, but they don't respond when you ask them to do something. So we have the assumption that that child is just not being compliant. Why doesn't that child just do what we ask them to do? A lot of times teachers get into a thing about, this child is so brilliant. Why aren't they doing what I asked them to do? Because we need to shore this up and get it up to the same level as the other. So super important when we're planning on how we're going to teach a child that we have an understanding of where they are in those levels. It really will help us to help them reach their highest level. Okay, we always have a question of the day for you today. It's no different. Usually on Fridays we talk about the almighty dollar, right? So today we want to know, what financial plan do you have for your child when they are an adult? I know, let's all take a breath, because I don't have that financial plan, and I know that there are many of you who are like me, that it's like, I know I got to do that, I just haven't done it. We had Nancy Allspot Jackson on the show on Wednesday, and she was mentioning again that we have had Doug Baker before on the show. We're going to be asking him to do a series of videos. He's an autism dad who works in the world of finances and is trying to help parents to put these plans together, and Nancy was sharing that this is very much on her plate right now. So we're going to be looking to Nancy to tell us more about how that's going. It's emotional. I know that it's emotional, but aside from having a life insurance policy, we have not looked at this hard and fast. And I think for a lot of families early on in autism, it's hard, and it may be more than we can handle at that point. I think we are at a point now where we need to make sure that there is a financial plan. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What financial plan do you have? How did you go about this? Are you like me and have not faced it yet? Maybe we can face it together if that's the case. Love to hear what you guys write in a little bit later on Facebook. We always have a topic of the day, topic of the week. Our topic this week that we've touched base on, I'd love to have touched base on it more, but a lot of things have intervened, and maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more next week, in fact, but it's transitioning to adulthood. This idea of when and how do we do this? I know Emily Island was with us a couple of weeks ago. She's got a fabulous video, you guys, coming out called Be Safe, the movie. And she was here with us talking about that, and I was talking about how I talked about the film with my son, that he hadn't had a chance to see it yet, that I wanted to watch the whole thing without him and then talk to him about it before, because I think it's, age-wise, it's a little bit older than him. And Emily said, now, how old is your son? Are you transitioning now? And I said, transitioning? What is she talking about? Is she talking about menopause? What are you talking about? And she said, no, I'm talking about your kid. Is he transitioning now to adulthood? And I said, well, no, he's 10. And she said, oh, but you need to do the plan when he's 13. And I'm telling you, it was like something out of a movie that I feel like my brain just went, it wasn't like something out of the Matrix. Because I went, I got to start the transition plan when he's 13. And as soon as she said it, I went, of course, but it hadn't been as much on my radar. So, how do we transition to adulthood? And even though the plan needs to be written when he's 13, the fact of the matter is that we're always in the midst of transitioning our kids to adulthood. It doesn't matter whether they're 2 days old. We're helping them to learn skills and taking care of them so that they do reach adulthood and that they reach senior citizen years, right? So we've been talking about this a little bit this week and taking on some of the issues with those of you who have older kids. And sometimes those issues are, we were talking yesterday about a 14-year-old and how to potty train a 14-year-old, because that's part of transitioning to adulthood. And I hope that you guys will continue to write in your questions today, because we are going to have some people in here talking about some stuff along this lines. Some of the things we have going on, I mentioned Dr. Adel Najdowski will be in here. She's going to be answering a specific question from a viewer yesterday about feeding for a 16-year-old, if it's appropriate to have a feeding program at school for a 16-year-old. And we've gotten some more information about that. We're going to be sharing that with her and sharing that with you in just a few minutes. A little bit later on, we're going to have a funding tip, because we do have to talk about the almighty dollar, right? And then in the second hour, we'll be joined by Catherine Peters from IBT, the Institute for Behavioral Training. She's going to be talking to us about e-learning and how all of us can be utilizing e-learning wherever we are with our children or wherever we are with ourselves to help to create more progress, and to do it in a way that's easy and effective and fits our lives and our schedules. When we started out, I wanted a book. I was like, let's go to the library. Let's get the book on how do we help our child. And that book wasn't available at the library. Can I just tell you? Like, it didn't seem to be on the shelf. There were a bunch of books, but there wasn't a book, because I don't think that book existed. And I took several books out and then was reading through the foreword in the first chapter and I needed help immediately, right? And I was told, well, sign up for ABA and then you got to wait to get that. And I kept saying, isn't there something I could do? I'm losing my mind. And e-learning didn't exist then. It does now. It's a way for all of us to be able to learn what it is that we want to learn in a really immediate format on the time schedule that we have. So the only time I had at that time was at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there were no classes on autism at 2 o'clock in the morning, that I could show up on a Monday and not come back till the Friday. That's what e-learning does for us. So Catherine's going to be here to talk with us about that and hopefully hook you up with some ways that you can not only help yourself if you're a parent, if you're a teacher. Oh my gosh, there's amazing stuff there, whether you're hoping to be a practitioner, because I know there are a few of you that are watching that are wanting to become practitioners down the road. And by the way, Mike, I haven't forgot to give away, we just haven't set it up yet. So I'm talking to Mike Hipple. We're going to be giving away his books, but we haven't set it up. That's why it takes me a while, Mike. You got to be patient with me. And anyway, so really, really good stuff that we have going on, but always we'll take your questions. So be sending those in. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with Dr. Adel Najdowski. Stick with us. Currently in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Granpichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second. You are a smart cookie, huh? Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
Teacher has some glasses.
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christina Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Joining us via Skype right now is Dr. Adel Najdowski. We call this Real Progress with Dr. Adel. Hi, Adel.
Hi, how are you?
We're thrilled to have you here via Skype.
I know, this is awesome. I'm excited.
It is exciting. And we had a question from a viewer that came in, and we've gotten a little bit more information from her, but we talked about this yesterday that we were going to answer it today. The question we have for you is feeding therapy out of the question for a 16-year-old at school? My daughter will only eat carbs, and I'm trying to get her to eat fruits and veggies. I don't necessarily want to hide them in foods if I can avoid it. Now, we were able to ask this parent further questions throughout the night to find out that there are aids on the site. It's not quite one-to-one, but there are aids at the site when she's having lunch. And also, she wanted to make sure that I let you know, Dr. Najdowski, that her daughter used to love fruits and veggies as a baby, and that somehow this has changed. All she wants is carbs. So what can we tell this parent?
Well, the first thing that the parent's going to need to do is talk to the school staff and make sure that they can get on board, because it's going to be a lot of work for whoever's going to implement the intervention. So with the goal of doing it at school, if the staff are not going to follow the protocol, it won't be worthy of doing it at all. And I don't know if this parent is already trying stuff at home and it's working at home, because that's a good place that could be started before trying it in the school environment. But overall, the thing that I would recommend is probably just requiring the daughter to eat even just one bite of a non-carb food, and then contingent on that, getting rewarded by getting access to the carbs. So I'm assuming right now probably the daughter's just eating like 100% carbs during the school day. And so if those aides that are around could first say, okay, yeah, you can have all this. This is your lunch, but you won't get it until you eat this one bite of strawberry or whatever it may be. They can slowly increase the amount of the non-carbs and then slowly decrease the amount of the carbs until it becomes a balanced meal, I would hope. In addition to that, though, they could bring in other reinforcers too. So I'm assuming carbs are probably a huge reinforcer, but if needed, you could also add other reinforcers on top of that for trying the non-carb foods. And if the girl just simply refuses and says, I'm not going to do it, she might end up skipping her lunch which I don't know what effect that's going to have in the classroom if she won't be able to attend and things like that, and what mom's worried about with respect to that. That's one of the reasons why she may want to start in the home. But if they're willing to wait it out and just basically say, well, you didn't eat your lunch and lunch is now over, and then she can go home after school and still be required to eat one non-carb food before having any carbs, she's going to eventually do it, trust me, because she's going to be pretty hungry.
And when you say eating one non-carb food, it might be that it's just the smallest morsel, correct, Dr. Najdowski?
Oh yeah, you can start super small. Everything's always baby steps in behavior analysis. We don't want to set up some like really negative situation. We try to make everything as positive as possible. So the whole goal always is set the person up for success. And so, you know, start with a food that she used, or a fruit or a vegetable or something that she used to love, and you know she loved it. And start with something like that, and start small. And I can guarantee you, as soon as she starts eating those foods, she's going to remember how good they taste, and she's probably going to develop a taste for them again. And they may become things she just starts requesting on her own.
Okay, really, really great advice. It's really going to depend on whether the school is willing to work with them. Is it something that I'm not aware of? Can we get feeding goals written into an IEP? I would assume so, because it goes to your ability to be able to be a part of the community.
I am not 100% sure, but it's a part of the student's school day, and I think that anything that goes on school campus, I mean, can be probably written into the IEP, I would guess.
Okay, all right, yeah. But key going slow, offering, saying in order to have the carb, you can have the carb, but you have to have a bite of or a piece of this non-carb food before it happens.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course increasing that over time. Your goal is going to be to have a balanced meal, and I think that would be the most positive way to go with it. Other ways would be a little bit more severe, which would be just send things in her lunch that are not carbs, and really that's all she gets, and there's no other options.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a little harsher.
Absolutely.
Starting with one bite requirement.
And the concern about whether then she'll just refuse, and that'll make it hard for her to attend. So
yeah, and we want the aides and the teachers to not feel like they're being set up for failure as well. So giving them something that's easy to implement that hopefully the student will comply with is what we want as well, just so that it's positive for everybody involved.
Great advice. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to continue to talk with Dr. Najdowski, and we have a question that came in from a viewer about the skills program, so stick with us.
For the month of August, I figured we'd do some fun in the sun activity. We're gonna make our very own frozen bowling game. It's super fast and super easy. I was inspired by some lessons I saw in skills. All right, so let's get to it. The materials you'll be needing are water, water bottles, balloon, and food coloring, which is always optional. First step you're gonna do is make your bowling ball, since it'll have to freeze overnight. The first thing I'm gonna do is take my balloon and put a few drops of food coloring in it. This is optional. If you don't have food coloring or your child has an allergy to it, don't use it, but I thought it'd be fun to make everything super colorful. So, I have my food coloring. I'm gonna put a few drops in here. And then, take it to the sink and fill it up with water and tie a knot. Here's my balloon filled with water and the food coloring. I'm gonna take this and place it in the freezer with some towels, just so it holds its shape better. Our next step is to make the bowling pins. I have 10 recycled water bottles that I've refilled with water. Now I'm gonna put some food coloring in them.
Straight to the center at full speed. Light will surround you in a blink of an eye.
Now that my bowling ball is frozen and my pins have been filled with water, let's go outside and play with these.
See all the colors in the sky tonight. It's time to let the sunshine hide.
I hope you and your family have fun with the frozen bowling game like I did with my friend Emily. Well, until next time, craft on, guys. Bye.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back. We are still with Dr. Adel Najdowski via Skype. Thank you, Dr. Adel, for being with us. We're going to continue talking about the feeding program and the carbs just slightly because there were a couple of things that I wanted to hit on. And the parent wrote in and said, I'm trying to get her to eat a bite every time she gets a fruit or veggie. I've been trying to use applesauce right now, and that I've tried sending the applesauce with pretzels, but she writes that they won't even make her try the applesauce. So we were just talking about it during the break, and it sounds to me, and tell me if you agree with me, Dr. Najdowski, that this needs to be written into the IEP. It sounds like you need to have an emergency IEP meeting and say, for the child's health, we need some support here, and maybe they need a behavior intervention plan, Dr. Najdowski?
Yeah, I would say just get the school on board. Everyone needs to know this is a priority and get it into the IEP if you can. And maybe include them with designing the plan. I mean, they might say, you know what, let's not start with one small bite. Let's just, nip this in the bud and go huge from the start and make it happen. Just send her a lunch that has no carbs. We're willing to sit there with her or whatever. So, but if they can take some ownership over it and be involved with helping to develop the plan, it'll become a priority, hopefully, for them as well.
But there needs to be a plan about how they're going to do it at home, and there needs to be a plan about how they're going to do it at school, because I'm going to say as a parent, when I have this idea of, well, I'm not going to let him have this unless I have this, unless it's really firm and clear in my mind, I muddy it up. And when we muddy stuff up, it doesn't go well.
And actually, when I think about it, sometimes what people get confused on is, let's say they sit down for mealtime and they tell their child, okay, you can have all these great things, but first you need to eat this. And then what happens is the child sits you out. And so the meal's now over, it's been 30 minutes, and no one else is sitting at the table, and everyone's up and doing the dishes and whatever. And so it's like, okay, well, what do I do now? And I think sometimes people get a little confused on that process. But I've done a couple things, because I've had to deal with this with my own daughter, which is I'll tell my daughter, you know what, the meal's going to be over in 20 minutes. I'm setting a timer, and if you don't eat it, then the whole thing goes away. And next time you come and tell me that you're hungry, I'm not going to offer you anything except for this anyways. So that's that. Or I'll even shut down the kitchen and just say, kitchen is closed. Because especially at dinner, I don't like it when she starts coming to me 10 minutes before bedtime telling me that she's hungry and she wants something to eat. So that kind of puts a little bit of sense of urgency for the child, that they realize, okay, well, I basically have until this timer goes off to eat this, and then I can get the stuff I want. After that, it won't even be available to me at all.
Yeah. I think we all start to get nervous and feel like we're going to become Mommy Dearest. Have you seen the movie Mommy Dearest? And she has the steak chop that's raw, and she puts it in front of her daughter and says, you need to eat that. And she refused. The daughter sits her out, just like you were saying, and then it comes back for breakfast the next day. It's horrifying, right? But so it's important.
I do have to respond to that in a funny way. There's been a study published on that, and it was published by our group, actually. Jonathan Tarbox and Avril Schiff and the three of us are authors on that study, and we did that. We called it non-removal of the meal.
You didn't call it the Mommy Dearest method?
Well, it was non-removal of the meal. So we presented the meal, and then if the child didn't eat it, then the next meal when it came around, we represented the same meal. So it was basically like, this is never going to go away. You're going to eat it.
Okay, but the differences are, we're having a great deal of fun talking about this, but the differences are, you have to present, it can't start to get moldy. It has to be fresh, whatever it is, and it has to be fully cooked. The Mommy Dearest was presenting something that was raw, and that it started to go bad and get moldy. Okay, so this is the difference of how we're going to do this when we're doing it. But, and also important to remember that when we're doing these kinds of things, we're not doing them with kids who have failure to thrive. If you're afraid that your child is, painfully thin and borderline in terms of whether they're getting nutrition, you're not doing this. You're asking for an expert to help you with these kinds of things. But for our kids who are being stubborn and clearly are eating the carbs, and maybe weight is starting to become an issue for them, missing a meal, because they decided to be stubborn, will help to turn this around in a lot of circumstances. Right, Dr. Najdowski?
Yes. And I also noticed that, and I'm glad you said that thing about failure to thrive, because you don't want a kid who's already underweight not eating. But I've noticed even with my own daughter who I've had feeding issues that her favorite thing ever in the world is candy. And even though she hates certain foods and will sit and cry and doesn't want to eat it, she'll do almost anything for candy. So I know that this kind of stuff can work. You just have to find the right reinforcer.
Yeah.
So keep looking. If you find that the child still continues to be stubborn.
It sounds like, in thinking about this and for my own child, and honestly, can I just be honest here that I don't have a child that has difficulty eating vegetables. I have a husband who has difficulty eating vegetables. So I apply this to him because he's the toughest nut to crack. That if I were going to do this with my husband, who's in his 50s, thank you, I would be thinking about what is the carb that he most wants, and what is the fruit or vegetable that he would most likely eat without the biggest fuss. And then I would ask him to eat this. So I would be thinking about the cheesecake that he loves, and then the vegetable or the fruit. He's willing to eat apples, especially if they're cooked and have a little cinnamon on them. So I would be saying to him, you just have to have 1 spoonful or even a half a spoonful, a teaspoonful of the apples, and then you can have the cheesecake in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely also withholding that thing that's really reinforcing. So the cheesecake is the reinforcer. He's never going to get cheesecake until he has it. So you start to get in the state of deprivation of the thing you love the most. You want it even more.
Yeah. So if my husband is watching, he's like, my cheesecake, how did my cheesecake get into this conversation? But really important that both of those things, you make it as, the thing that you're trying to get them to try, make it as wonderful as you possibly can, and the thing that they're working for as wonderful as you possibly can.
Exactly.
And probably making sure that we do this at home, but I'm sensing that we need to get this all in writing before the school's going to participate.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so hopefully that will help to, and for the parent, you're just going to have to get really strong about the not giving those carbs unless that other thing happens.
Yeah, and also, by the way, carbs are the type of thing that they have a lot of sugar in them. So you start messing around with your body starts to just crave those over and over constantly. People who eat a lot of carbs, they tend to crave them all day long.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Najdowski, because we had talked about that earlier when the parent wrote in this morning and said that their child loved fruits and vegetables as a child and they don't know what has happened. This happens with all of us. And I was saying to Dr. Najdowski, I'm a vegetarian and I love my veggies and I love my fruits. But if I start to eat a bunch of carbs, forget it. That's all I want to eat all of a sudden, and I forget about how wonderful fruits and vegetables are. And that is very possible with all of us. We get into a cycle, right, Dr. Najdowski?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to claim to be an expert with this kind of stuff, but just from things I've read, when you eat a lot of sugar or carbs, your blood sugar levels go so high that then you produce insulin to bring it down, and sometimes you overproduce, and it brings it so low that your body then craves more carbs to bring it back up. And then again, it goes too high because you're eating a lot of carbs, and it's like over and over again. So you find yourself just craving carbs like all day long. So it's pretty bad.
A great documentary to watch if you doubt this sort of effect is Super Size Me. It's a very healthy, fit man who decides he's only going to eat McDonald's, which is a lot of carbs, but he has a salad every day. But the proportion of carbs to what he's eating for vegetables changes vastly, only for 30 days. And the first couple of days he's miserable, and after that he craves it. He absolutely craves it. So you might want to take a look at that. It's very possible to happen. The good news is, though, if they loved fruits and vegetables earlier, it's easier, I think, to turn this around, don't you think?
Well, yeah, and the other good news is if you really are craving carbs like that, then this is going to be pretty easy to get them to eat something else if that's all they have to do is to get their carbs.
Yeah, because they're going to want the carbs.
If you want it that bad, you're willing to do anything.
And then, so over time, though, you would make whatever the portion is of the fruit or vegetable bigger that they have to eat in order to get the carb. And then you would start to cycle in vegetables and fruits that are a little less preferred down the road.
Exactly. You want to get a variety going.
Okay.
And you'll be surprised, because what'll happen is that she'll actually start requesting some of these foods when she realizes how good they are and they're back in her diet.
My husband has done that. So if my husband, has done that and said, "Oh, I really want an apple," then there is hope for all of us. Can I just say? So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to have Dr. Najdowski answer that skills question. Stick with us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi there, I'm Lisa Ackerman. Welcome to the show. So the goal of today, we're going to make meatballs. Let's get started. So again, I'm going to take roughly a pound of my ground organic turkey, and I'm going to add in the secret vegetable. So if your kid doesn't like vegetables, don't cook in front of them, okay? Have them watch a movie or something. But you definitely want to make sure they're not watching, because then they won't eat it. So, and here we go with the egg. And our breadcrumbs. I'm just adding salt and pepper to taste. If you think about kids' shapes and sizes, you want to think small shapes, small hands. So your oven should be preheating at about 400 degrees. We're going to kick into the oven here and look at our meatballs. I did flip them halfway through the 20-odd minute. So we'll put, just like Julia Child's, there's our finished product right there. These are good. Cooking is easy. You don't have to be afraid of it. But we want to hear from you. If you can let us know what recipes are important to you, maybe convert a recipe from a traditional flour or gluten-based to a gluten-free or an allergy-free, we're here to help. So you get to us. You can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. You can reach out on Facebook at facebook.com/autismlive, or reach out at Taka Now. So I know you're having a great day. I had a lot of fun cooking with you in the kitchen, but I'll tell you before we end, I gotta have more meatballs. Have a great day.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest via Skype this morning is Dr. Adel Najdowski. We call this Real Progress with Dr. Adel. And we had a question. Dr. Adel, by the way, was one of the co-creators of Skills, a wonderful online tool. And we had a question that came in, Dr. Najdowski, asking, how do I use Skills? I know that there's a lot of products that are out on the market right now where they encourage a child to sit down in front of a computer screen and play games and do things, and there is some confusion about, is that what Skills is? So can you answer that question for us? How do I use Skills?
Sure, no problem. Thanks for asking. One thing I do want to address with the games, those are a great way to teach skills to children with autism, especially it gives them something to do so that you can get things done and they're learning at the same time. CARD is actually in the process of developing some games, and I know they have one out already, so you could check out CARD's website and find the game section if you're interested. But Skills is actually not that. It's actually a treatment management platform that is used by people who are delivering intervention to children on the spectrum. So whether that be teachers, parents, or ABA service providers, or other types of professionals. And what they do is they log in and they enter in the child's information. They start an account for the child, and then they answer assessment questions. And the system then produces a library of activities that are appropriate for that child based on how those assessment questions were answered. So it's identifying all of the child's deficits and needs and then providing lessons that then the user goes in and pops open these lessons. They can customize them for the child. There's video clips and things they can watch to learn how to do them. There's materials they can print, but it pretty much just provides them everything they need to then be able to go and implement intervention with a person on the spectrum. So it's more of a treatment management tool than it is games or something like that for the child to learn directly from.
And you mentioned it's very comprehensive and that it includes everything that you would need, including giving you IEP language for the different goals for different lessons. There is, we were talking about a behavior intervention plan in a previous segment, and it includes a behavior intervention plan builder.
So every activity, which there's about 4,000 of, have IEP goals and benchmarks, and then you also, like there's a section you can go in and fill out questions, and it provides you with step-by-step, walks you through the process of developing a behavior intervention plan for challenging behavior. And then it also keeps track of the child's progress when they're making progress with their learning and stuff, and gives you charts that you can see that progress happening, as well as reports. So that's why I called it a treatment management platform, because it kind of just gives you everything you need to implement treatment with people on the spectrum.
And one of the things that I find incredible is that a parent could be using this at home to do this, to do a treatment program with their child, but it's the same exact platform, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a treatment provider at CARD would be using if the child was getting treatment from CARD.
Yes.
Same exact thing.
It is.
I think is miraculous.
Yep. And for parents who don't know how to do ABA, they can learn that through eLearning, which is available online through the Institute for Behavioral Training. And their website is ibehavioraltraining.com. So
we actually have Catherine Peters from IBT is going to be joining us in the next hour. And so if they're interested in more information about that, Catherine Peters will be with us today talking about exactly those e-learnings.
That's awesome. I just want parents to understand that even though they may not have taken classes or know how to implement ABA, they shouldn't be afraid to use skills, because everything they'll need to know they can learn through those videos through IBT. So it's pretty cool.
Wonderful. Well, we thank you so much for being with us today and helping to answer those questions, and we hope that you have a great extended weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Dr. Najdowski.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye. So that was Dr. Adel Najdowski. We call that segment with her Real Progress with Dr. Adel. I had the wonderful opportunity of when I began this job to work here, because as a parent, I knew some things. My child had been going through ABA for a while, but I needed to know more than I already currently knew. I was going to say more than the average bear, but there are lots of parents who already know everything that I know currently, but I needed to be brought up to speed. And what they did was they gave me, I call it Mornings with Dr. Adel, and every morning I got to meet with her for an hour and pick her brain and talk about things and go through things and learn at her feet. And I always say to her, I became a better parent because of that hour that I spent with her on a daily basis. It was truly amazing. At some point, I'm going to write a book about that period of time, Mornings with Dr. Adel. Really amazing resource that she is. And so thrilled to have her today because she is an expert in feeding. So anyway, there is Dr. Adel Najdowski. And we're going to take a break and come back and talk a little bit about funding. So stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. It's Friday, and on Friday we try to talk about funding. And I know it can be so overwhelming, first of all. And from time to time we give you little tips about how you can reduce your costs for some things, how you can use your money wisely. I'm really struck lately by the number of people who have written in and said they're just starting on something, whether it's they're just starting on ABA and they just got a diagnosis, or they're just starting on the transition to adulthood, or they're at a place where they're trying to figure out how to fund something new. So if that's where you're at, this segment is really meant for you today. That I want to encourage you to pull out a sheet of paper and to draw a line down the middle and to ask yourself, what is it that you really want to do? And in regards to autism, and feel free to make that list and not edit it. I know it's hard because you say to yourself, well, I don't want to write that down because there's no way we can afford that. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in being logical and being pragmatic about things, but I'm also a firm believer in putting it out there and saying, this is what would be ideal, and now let's work around that, right? Because sometimes things seem insurmountable until we're really ready to look at it and go, no, you know, this is important. So if you're saying to yourself, I want, what is it you want? Do you want a 40-hour ABA program in your home, or do you want a 10-hour ABA program in your home? Because depending on where you or your child are, it's, you know, you may want one or the other. If you've got a 3-year-old, I hope you're writing down a 40-hour ABA program. I hope you are. I want to encourage you to write that down. If you've got a teenager and you really, that's high functioning and you just need some help and support with some anger issues and some anxiety and some social issues, 10 hours a week is perfectly reasonable, right? But write it down. Know what you want. It's going to make you more effective when you're talking to people about, this is what I want and this is what I'm working towards. People get a sense when you do that you're immovable on it and that you're going to make it happen. And I tell you, I swear to you, it makes it more possible because you seem clear. So write it down on a piece of paper. And if you want to put them in a hierarchy, not necessarily important. If you say, I really want to do ABA and I want a 30-hour program and I want to do horseback riding with my child because I know that they need some core strength built up. So I want that put in there. And I want my child to play Little League. And you know, and I need an aide to go with them when they play Little League or ballet or whatever it is. You know, I want a social skills. Write it all down. I want to do this biomedical intervention that I can't afford. Write it all down, right? And then maybe prioritize a number and say, this one's the most important. This one's the least important, right? This one could wait a year. I'm telling you that the ABA can't wait. But, you know, there may be something on that you go, I want to do the horseback riding, but this is more important, horseback riding the next year, but still have it on the list. It's important to have it on the list. Then in the other column, you're going to write down what all of your resources are. Hopefully you've been watching the show. You know that you got to go to your insurance company and see, because oh, it just makes me sick to my stomach how many parents that I meet that find out that they could have been getting their ABA program funded 6 months ago, but they just didn't know. They checked it 8 months ago and they weren't funded, but they did get funding 6 months ago and they didn't even know. Oh, please, I beg you, check and make sure that you check that and don't let that stop you. Say, I'm getting the 40-hour ABA program. The first thing I'm going to do is check the insurance. And if the insurance is going to kick in, fabulous. If it's not, here's plan B. And there are other plans, and we've done lots of shows on that. But the reason why you want to write all these things down is that you're going to match up things on your list to what will fund it. Because it breaks my heart that there might be somebody who has this list that says, I want to do ABA and I want to do Little League, but I can't afford to do Little League because I'm paying for the ABA. But they don't realize if you would make the phone call again to your ABA provider and say, can you check my insurance again, that maybe they would do that. They don't realize that their regional center or whatever service that they have in their state might pay the copay, which would free up the money for the Little League, or that they can apply for a grant to be able to pay the Little League thing from somebody like Act Today or other organizations, so that you start to go, okay, I'm not gonna, here, my insurance company is going to pay for the iPad, which they've started to do, you guys. So I'm not gonna ask for the grant from Act Today for the iPad because I'm gonna get that from my insurance company. Or you say, my insurance company has already said no to the iPad, so I'm gonna make sure that I ask for the iPad from Act Today, because then when I go to the regional center, I wanna ask them to fund this program where my child is doing the social skills. You gotta be smart about which one you're pairing up to which thing on your list. So make the list. Make the list, and it's okay to dream. It's okay to dream on that column, and it's okay if you don't get all of them done this week. If you've prioritized, you'll get the ones that are most important. It will help you to be a better advocate and to know, and when you've made the other column, you know who to ask what and when. You've strategically planned all on one little piece of paper. You could do it on a napkin from Starbucks if you had to, but you will move more efficiently. Your dollars will go further. Your child or yourself will see more progress. There is funding. This myth that there is no funding for autism, it isn't true. It does mean you got to be smart like a fox. But you can do that. If I could do that, I know you can do that, because I would have sworn to you that I couldn't do that, and we made it work. So together we get through this. We are going to take a break and go to the A word. When we come back a little bit later, we're going to be joined by Catherine Peters from IBT. But before that, I want to take a little bit of a break because somebody has written in and said that they're having a bad day, that they need for me to make them laugh. So we're going to talk about that and how sometimes we do have bad days. And I'm sending you an air hug, patting you on the back. But first, let's take a look at the A word. And this is the ongoing documentary about a little boy named Jack Riley. I got to go to the zoo with Jack Riley a week ago today. He is precious. That little boy is absolutely precious. And in this series, you get to see Jack Riley as he begins ABA therapy, the toll that it takes on the family, because this is not easy, right? To say, oh, I'm going to let a whole bunch of people come into my home for a really long time, and I'm going to try to pretend like it hasn't disrupted my life at all. Let's see how well that works, right? But the progress is there, and it's there for all of our kids, regardless of age, regardless of ability. The progress is available for our kids. And so take a look and see what's happening with Jack Riley this week. This is the A word.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
It's my birthday today.
Yeah, can we celebrate our birthdays together? Yeah. Our birthday buddies? Okay. Wear hats. Should everyone wear hats?
We need some more friends for the hat.
Here, you want to give hats to everybody?
1, 2, hey! Yay!
One's for Christmas and one's for your birthday, okay? So go ahead, rip it up. Yeah. You know who it is?
Raspberries.
What do you say to Miss Jessica?
You have to look at her eyes too.
Happy birthday, Jessica.
What do you?
But what else do you say? Do you like your gift?
Yeah.
I'm over here. Do you like your gift?
Yeah.
Then
So
what do you?
look at
What do you say?
So what do you say when you like something that somebody gave you? Hey, I'm over here. Do you say you're welcome, or do you say please?
Please.
What else do you say?
Can I have cake, please?
Say thank you. Say thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to take off my hat, so it's not my birthday yet.
Oh, your birthday is tomorrow. You are right. It is not your birthday yet.
Let's make Mickey
Check out
Mouse.
here. He's like, it's not my birthday.
Here are Mickey
Right.
Mouse.
I'm so smart. Oh, this morning I'm like,
Mickey Mouse.
This isn't the first time Jack Riley's mentioned making raspberries to himself today. He scripted this phrase while he was opening his presents just a few moments ago. Let's watch that again.
Raspberries. Making raspberries. Raspberries. Like making raspberries. They are making raspberries. Like making raspberries.
What are you talking about?
Raspberries.
I don't see any raspberries. I see cars. I see a car. I see a truck.
Jessica redirects Jack Riley to talk about what's present instead of non-functional language. This stereotypical behavior is a common one for kids on the spectrum. Not all kids, though, do it for the same reason. But typically, echolalia is intrinsically reinforcing. It comforts and helps regulate the self because it's a form of self-stimulatory behavior, like hand flapping or body rocking.
Hey, no, Jack Riley. Hey. Stop. What's wrong? Do you need pillow squishes?
Yeah.
Is that what you need? Okay, come on. Let's go do pillow squishes.
You just needed some tickles.
Jack Riley has been doing quite a bit of self-stimulatory behavior. He needs some sensory input, so Jessica gives him some tickles and pillow squishes, so he has some socially appropriate alternatives from getting the sensory input that he needs. What Jessica and his therapist need to do is anticipate when he's going to do this and try to redirect it before it even happens.
You was silly.
Let's do this again.
Okay, good talking. Okay.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So that was the A Word. That's an ongoing documentary that you can watch all of the videos in this series by going to their YouTube page. And you can see from when he was diagnosed and how he wasn't looking at people and wasn't interested in people to pretty much close to where he is now. They're always a little bit behind real time. But Jack Riley is, he's amazing. He's just absolutely amazing and so talkative and inquisitive. And as I said, I spent time with him last Friday. He and my son, we took them to the zoo and we filmed all of that, and that we'll have that for you sometime in the future. But it was truly amazing to see these two boys with a vast age difference, and they clearly have different kinds of autism. But I was struck too while we were walking around that, you know, Jack Riley was diagnosed, I think, right after he turned 2, and he started having ABA therapy well before his 3rd birthday. I think he was more like 2.5. And again, all kids are different, and clearly they have different kinds of autism. But I looked at Jack Riley and how he is and where he is with language versus my son, who was diagnosed at 2.5 and started his ABA therapy right after his 3rd birthday. So we're really talking about a year difference in terms of diagnosis and a good 8-month difference in terms of ABA probably. And I see a difference. You know, the early intervention, when we say to you the earlier the better, man, every day counts. Having said that, I know that there have been some things that you guys have written in recently that I want to address. There was a question that came in for Dr. Tarbox, and as I mentioned, Dr. Tarbox is not going to be with us today. But somebody wrote in and said, "Hi, Dr. Tarbox. I've been writing to Dr. Doreen in regards to my son. He is 33 months, and I already started the intake process with CARD. Hopefully within a month, I will start services. I have an assessment scheduled on the 19th. I heard you talking about a research study in your Woodland Hills office. Now would it be better to go that route? Thank you." And I believe that this is a parent who is in Riverside. And as I said, Dr. Tarbox is not here today to take that question, but what I would like to say is that while there is a research study that is going on in the Woodland, I actually think it's happening in the Thousand Oaks office, the potential to be a part of a study at CARD exists no matter which office you're in. So I don't think it would preclude you from being a part of studies in general. I don't know this particular study, and we will ask Dr. Tarbox this, but you wouldn't want to, if you're living in Riverside, you wouldn't want to switch and go to Thousand Oaks just to be a part of that study, unless you're talking about moving lock, stock, and barrel, which would be a huge upheaval, and I don't know how productive that would be for your child at this moment in time. because you need to be live within 30 miles of the office that you're going to go to, because your supervisor is going to want to get to your house on a regular basis. The therapists are going to need to get to your house on a regular basis. Even if you're going to do the center-based system, they're going to need to come to your house to do some things at some point, whether it's the toilet training or whatever portion of it. So you need to live within 30 miles of the center that you're working with. But don't feel like you're going to be left out of studies. You can certainly, and we'll make sure that Dr. Tarbox is aware of the fact, and you can say to your supervisor, I want to participate in things like these. So you won't get left out of that. And if it's a specific study that you're interested in, we can certainly talk to Dr. Tarbox about that. But at this moment in time, as a parent, I would recommend that you stick it out where you are. You're going to get good quality ABA therapy wherever you are at a CARD office. But I remember we were 3 years into our ABA and with CARD, and I got an offer of a teaching job. And it was a teaching job that I particularly wanted. And if we lived so that I would have a little bit of a commute that wasn't going to be horrible, we could live within a 30-mile radius of a CARD office. And I remember talking to both the CARD office where we would be moving to and to CARD here, and said, can we do this? Is this feasible? This would be a really good thing financially. And of course, we were told, you need to take care of your financial life. That needs to be a priority, and to take care of your emotional life. However, minimizing the amount of changes, and if you're doing something and it's working, not advisable. Now, I realize you haven't started yet with Riverside, but I'm just guessing that the idea of moving your entire house and your place of work right now would be overwhelming. So I would encourage you to stay where you are, get those services started, and being a part of the studies is really not going to be, it's not going to hold you back. You'll get to take part and get to be a part of, I would say, most, if not all of that. So that would be my parent advice to you, but we will ask Dr. Tarbox that in the interim as well. Somebody else had written in and said that they're having a rough day. And they said, you need to make me laugh today because I'm down today. And I'm so sorry that you're down today. And I do want to say really quickly that some days, first of all, I'm proud of you for taking ownership of it and saying, I need a little something, because it's hard to, and we need to not isolate when we're having a rough day, but some days it's just like that. My husband calls things poop storms, only he doesn't use the word poop. Sometimes it's just like everything in the world kind of cascades down on you and you go, really? I always ask myself to put things through the 5-year test and say, the thing that's kicking my keister today, is it something that 5 years from now I'm still going to remember? Because if it is, own it, right? Own it and say, I get to grieve this a little bit. If it's still going to be with you in 5 years, then own it. There are a whole lot of things that I don't know about you, but I get upset about today and I go, this is horrible. And then a week later, I'm going, what was that thing I was upset about? What was that thing? I can't remember. But in the moment, it feels bad, right? But ask yourself, okay, is this something 5 years from now? And then you can go back from there. 5 years from now, is it going to be something I'm talking about? Is it going to be something I'm talking about in 5 months from now? Is it something in 5 weeks, in 5 days, 5 hours? And if it's not something that you're going to be talking about in 5 hours, move it to the I don't care pile. Move it to the that stuff doesn't stick to me pile. Take a minute with it and go, all right, this stinks, and then move it into that heaping pile of not dealing with you today, because I'm going to focus on things that are important and real. And did you see on the Huffington Post this week the parent who wrote the open letter because somebody left a note for her on her car because she parked in the handicap spot, and they said, "You don't look like you're handicapped." Nancy Allspaw Jackson is going to be talking about this with us on Wednesday. And you know Nancy, you get her wound up, and she's already wound up for next Wednesday to come in and talk about this. But this mom wrote a letter and said, "Thank you so much for this note, because it tells me that you have time for this in your life. And you really live in a world where people, if something is up with them where they need some help and assistance, it's visible, and how nice for you that that's the fairy tale land that you live in." It's a lovely letter, well written, very nice. Only the minimal amount of snark, although I love snark. But in any case, it really, it helps sometimes to take a perspective on it for ourselves and say, how horrible is this in terms of my whole life? And if you have to, write something about it and write down and go, this is why I'm moving this into the pile of I don't give a you-know-what. But I adore you, and I'm sorry you're having a rough day. I'm sorry you're feeling a little bit down, because I know you're doing a good job. I know you are. And if it cheers you up a little bit, and we'll try to have some more fun a little bit later on, but if it cheers you up a little bit, we're giving away a bunch of stuff here. And right now on the Facebook page, you can go and leave a comment. We're going to pick from the people who leave comments a winner of one of these 2 pencil grip samplers from TheraPro. It's really lovely. They're really lovely, and you guys have started writing in comments, and I want to encourage you guys to write in and win something. And we got a bunch more things that we're going to be giving away where you could possibly win. So I've got something for you in my office. Write in and tell us what you're looking for. Maybe I have a gift for you in my office. If you're still feeling down, write in and tell me what would make you feel happy, and I'll try to come up with some funny stories from things that have happened along the road. All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Catherine Peters from IBT, the Institute for Behavioral Training. We talk about them a lot here and refer and say, educate. Go get the education that you need, give them to your teachers. So she's going to be talking to us about e-learning and how we can all benefit from it. You won't want to miss it. Stick with us.
When Maddie was diagnosed, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant on what autism was. I knew that autism was basically something that hit boys at the age of 2 to 3. They shut down, and sometimes you think of the typical Rain Man movie. And with Maddie, she was doing all the same signs and symptoms of a typical child with autism spectrum disorder.
Stand up.
She didn't even acknowledge us coming into the room. She had barely any eye contact. She didn't interact with her sisters. She didn't really do anything. She just basically lined up her toys, and that was about it. We have a team of 7 volunteers, or 8 now. We have 8 volunteers, including my husband and I, and I'm the team leader, and so I do all the curriculum and get everything ready each week.
Jana was downstairs until 11 o'clock at night working on curriculum, going through 2 different textbooks. And then we, as a group, meet on Monday nights, and we would go through what the curriculum was from Jana. And a lot of times we would go, well, how exactly do you do that? How do you sit her at the table and do this trial base? What Skills has done for us, it's taken that away from Jana trying to figure out the curriculum for one. She can go down, or even our laptop, and she can sit down, and through all these questions, it comes up with the different programs.
At least for me, it was a relief off my shoulders. I was worried that I might be missing something, missing a curriculum that maybe she needs to know, where Skills, they have every possible thing your child needs to know from 0 to 7. They have a program for that.
What noise is this? Good job!
Every program that we did with her, I knew it was specific for what she needed to learn. Because before Skills, it was a lot of, okay, well, is that really age appropriate for a 2-year-old? Because it's not generalized. anywhere from 0 to 7, this is what your child needs to know. In most manuals you'll find. But for this, okay, yep, she should be learning this. And no, she's not 4 yet. She doesn't need to know that yet.
We are so fortunate that Jana was able to attend a conference put on by CARD that opened the door for skills, and that there's no looking back for us.
We started using the program in November, and it seemed like by January something just clicked, and she has completely kind of came out of her fog that she was in for quite a while.
I have never read a documented case on any child that has not benefited anything from applied behavior analysis, and now with this new skills and being, like the E version of ABA, I can't imagine it doing anything harmful to their child. It's nothing but exponential growth for us.
To see her now, it just blows us away. I mean, we call her our little miracle child because in 7 months' time, she's just blossomed into this normal, functioning child, and suddenly, we joke about it all the time, like suddenly we have twins.
If you're even thinking about doing it, do it. Because the absolute worst thing you can do is do nothing at all. And even if you use this program and it's just a single mom or a single dad working in the evenings with their child, this program is going to benefit them. It's going to show you where they are, it's going to show you where they need to go, and it's going to show you what skills and how to get there. It is an online book on how to help recover your child.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have joining us via Skype Catherine Peters, and she is from the Institute for Behavior Training. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so thrilled to have you here. We have been talking a little bit this week about e-learning, and this is something that you provide. It's part of what the Institute for Behavior Training does, correct?
Right, absolutely.
So give us a little information about what e-learning is, who would want to use it, and how they're going to use it.
So our e-learning is broken up into 4 categories. So we have it so that it's based directly for a therapist. So those are all modules that are tailored to what a therapist needs to know. And then we also have sections that are for parents. So it's all tailored to a parent working in a home environment with their child. And then we also have a section that's for teachers. And those are targeted to a classroom environment for a teacher working with students in a classroom setting. And then we also have a practitioner level, which is for professionals who are more in a supervision role with children with autism.
Okay, and anybody could use any of those if they wanted to, correct?
Absolutely.
So if you're a parent,
a parent could do the teacher ones, a parent could do the therapist ones, a therapist could do the parent ones. That also is good for parent training.
Okay, great. And then when we talk about e-learning, there are people, myself including, the first time I heard this term, I said, I don't know what that is. So it's a training, but how do we do it? Do I sign up for a class time and have to show up at a certain time?
Nope, not at all. So why e-learning is so great is because you can do it whenever you want to. So you are given access to an online account, and then you're going to have a video library. And so whatever e-learnings that you want to take, you purchase those, and then they are in your video library that you can go back to anytime. So you can stop and start whenever you need to. So if something comes up and you need to run and go make dinner, you're able to pause it and then get that done and come right back to it.
I think that that's a spectacular idea because there are so many parents out there who want to learn more about how to help their child, the techniques that they need to use, and they have very strict time constraints.
Right, absolutely.
And talk to us a little bit about how, is it a big course, you buy a big course and it costs you hundreds of dollars, or can you just go in and get what you need?
Well, that's what's really great is that it used to be where you just get packages. So you have like a one package and you have to do the whole thing. But for parents and for teachers who just have sort of a limited time, or they have a specific child where they have a one issue that they want to work on, then they can just go and buy the individual topic. So everything is broken down by topic. So you can just go by one module. The parent modules, they start at $7.50 per module, and that's for like usually about an hour or less. And then they go up based upon the length of the training, but they're really reasonable. You don't have to take anything that you're not interested in or don't need. So it's really great and customizable.
It sounds fabulous. And where do they need to go to get these?
So our website is www.ibehavioraltraining.com. And then there's a tab, and you just click on it says e-learning, and then select the category that you want. So either parents or the therapist e-learning or teacher e-learning or practitioner e-learning.
Spectacular. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to talk about how a parent in particular might use these e-learnings and how they might gift them to other people.
Sure.
So stick with us. We're going to be back more with Catherine after these messages. We are here at Dodger Stadium. We happen to be here on Autism Awareness Day. We can't wait to meet, greet, and see all the wonderful people that are here and take part in this.
I don't care if we never get back.
We're here with the beautiful and lovely Holly Robinson Pete, who's getting ready to sing the national anthem here. Are you excited about singing this?
I am excited, but I am a little nervous.
The whole family's here, I see.
Yes, words of encouragement from my 8-year-old, Mom, don't fail.
We are here with the fabulous, funny, and talented George Lopez. And you're throwing out what?
I'm throwing out the first pitch, and Holly is singing, so it's a good night.
You see by the dawn's early light.
Who are you here with?
My amazing son, Lukey, who is my inspiration to do what we do every day. And Autism Speaks is just a wonderful supporter, and we're glad we're here, part of this joyous celebration. And it's really exciting to watch his excitement.
What is your son's name?
Christian.
Christian. Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to sign your baseball?
St. Matt Kemp.
Kim.
My daughter Megan, who's 11 and was diagnosed with autism at 2, is going to take the field with Puig. Woo!
You're going to be beside yourself.
I'm thrilled. I am so excited that all these people are here for autism awareness. It's amazing.
For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Okay.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest via Skype is Catherine Peters. Catherine is from IBT, the Institute for Behavioral Training, and I do want to say that I know Catherine because a long time ago you were one of Jem's therapists for a period of time.
I was.
And we thoroughly enjoyed having you in our home, and I sort of love to be able to share that from time to time with families because I think it's sort of a warm fuzzy for me, the idea that so many of the people that came into our home and did therapy with our son have gone on to do other things that are helping thousands and hundreds of thousands of people now.
Right.
So, Catherine, I'm so excited that you are now in a position to help so many other parents.
Yeah, I love it too. I mean, I love doing therapy. Jem is awesome. It's obviously one of my favorites.
Oh, I'm sure you say that to everyone, and you should, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love it, and I actually love that you're a part of our company now too, and that you get to do this web episode, and it's just awesome that you're part of our family now as well.
I feel that way. We're sort of our own little separate entity, but it feels like family. I feel like I'm a forever a card family. Yeah. But I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth. We've been talking about e-learnings, and I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about how a parent would use this. For instance, we've got a couple of families that just had their children get diagnosed, and one in particular that's been writing into us that they're waiting. They're like a month out from starting their services with CARD. They're getting their assessment and getting all their stuff in. How might an e-learning help that family?
Yeah, so that's actually a great example. I mean, I've had people call me in the same situation where they just don't really know where to go or how to start, or they're waiting to start services. So we have a lot of great introductory e-learnings, and it's a great way to sort of get a jump start into what they're going to be talking about when you do start services. So we have, the basic autism ones where it's intro to autism, intro to what is ABA. We also have a great one that's called What to Expect the First Week of ABA. That's a really good one for people to sort of prepare having the therapist in your home, what that's going to look like. We have all sorts of other ones which work great for families who have started services and they see their staff doing something with their child and they want to be able to do that when their staff isn't there. So there's modules that they can go and take, like for conversation skills. If their child is working on conversation skills, they can take an e-learning that will help them to sort of incorporate that into the rest of their lives, not just during therapy sessions.
And I have on our iPad here, hopefully, Emily, you can see this as well. I brought up the site because I wanted to show, are you connected, Emily? Will you be able? I'll have to reconnect. But it's a very easy thing to do when you go to the website. That, as you mentioned in the last segment, there are 4 little areas here that you can choose from, and I love the fact that we all have access to all of them. That I don't have to have a license to be able to go in and look at the practitioner one. Right. I can buy that if I want to. It's going to be more jargon intensive, but I can go in there if I want. If some of the more advanced things that I want to learn are in that area. And that once if I click on parents, friends, and family members, I can go in and all those topics that you were just talking about are there and available, and it clearly tells me what the price of those is. If I click on them, it pops up and tells me more information, in-depth information about what that segment is. And I kind of want to cycle into that there is a tab right above it that's for educators. Mm-hmm. So for teachers, how can these e-learnings benefit our teachers?
Teachers, and depending on where the teachers are located, in some states, they're required to have additional training or have training specific to autism. So we work with a lot of school districts to help them train their staff to work with children with autism. This is a great opportunity for schools because it is so reasonable that they can get their staff trained, and also they don't have to hire a trainer or schedule that. They can do it, like I said, at their own time, at their own pace with the e-learning. It's a great way for teachers to learn what to do in the classroom with their children with autism.
I am wanting to know, too, for parents, if you go on here and you see some great things, and of course it's so important to all of us that our teachers be as trained and informed as possible, because I think teachers are angels who walk this earth. But a lot of times the problems that happen with kids on the autism spectrum in a classroom is that the teacher hasn't gotten the training. And we can wish and want for the school district to provide that for them, or we can wish or want for the teacher to go to these trainings, but we can't always make that happen. Right. But here is a way that through your site that we have the potential to gift some of these trainings to a teacher. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. So how this would work is that you can go and look at the list of the trainings. Same thing, if there's a particular issue that your child is having a problem with in the classroom, I'll use conversation skills as another example. So if that's something that you need to work on, your child needs to work on, or social skills in a classroom setting, you can go in and select that e-learning module. And then when you go to check out, you would just create the username and password with your teacher's information. And then in addition, you put your own information for the billing, and then it would bill to you, but it would create an account for them.
I love that.
Yeah, you would just have to give them their username and password that you created for them, and they would be able to go and sign in and take the modules that you selected.
Okay, really incredible, and sounds incredibly easy to do. Because stop and think about it, you guys. You've got a lot of different things coming up, and you could gift it right now for a teacher, or it's a great holiday gift. It's a great gift to give during Teacher Appreciation Week, because teachers want to learn. Good teachers are excited to learn. That goes in their plus column. It's going to help them to manage the classroom. And I was noticing as I was looking again this morning that the different categories that things are in, you have things that are in skill acquisition, how to help a teacher to know how to teach something to your child. You had success strategies for on the playground. So many people have written into us and said, how am I going to make this happen? Gift that to the person who's working with your child during that time. And then there were things about behavior modification, dealing with challenging behavior. There were also things about how to set a classroom up. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and some of the ones that I like too is dealing with bullies and how children with autism can be victims of that sort of situation. And then ones like safety preparedness too, things that, when the school alarms go off and they have to do the safety drills.
Yes.
Working with the child with autism, certain things like that where the teachers could really use that sort of help to know what to do with their students.
And can I tell you, those were two of the ones that I was looking at this morning too. And I believe that both of those were there were $10. Yeah. So to be able to give that gift to the teacher for $10 of how to deal with safety situations with your child, I just think that is so affordable. That's a great affordable price point.
Yeah.
And so again, the website that they would go to is ibehavioraltraining.com.
Right.
and they can click on, I encourage you to shop around and look at everything to decide what you want to do and how you want to do it for yourself and for family members. And so, Catherine, if I were to buy something for myself from any category, then do I have the ability to share it with like a babysitter?
You'd be able to, absolutely. You'd have to give them your user account information.
Okay.
So, but you just give them their information and you're able to watch it. And our subscriptions come in either a 1 month, a 3 month, or a 6 month. So if you purchase it for the 1 month subscription, you have it for 1 month. You're able to watch it as many times as you need to, or like I said, share it with your babysitter or tutors that are coming in.
And if I do want to buy all the trainings in a section, you also give me a price if I'd like to be able to buy all of them.
Right, that's correct. You can buy a full package.
Okay, really, really remarkable, and I appreciate you for talking with us about. This isn't the only thing, though, that the Institute for Behavioral Training does, and we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Catherine's going to talk about some of the other things that the Institute for Behavioral Training does that are really important as well. If you're somebody who is interested in becoming a BCBA, you're going to want to hear about this, so stick with us.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT eLearning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity of
IBT eLearning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back, Catherine Peters from the Institute for Behavioral Training. And we've just talked about some of the e-learning programs that you have available through IBT, Institute for Behavioral Training. But IBT does a great deal more than that. Is that correct, Catherine?
That's right. We do a lot more than that.
And so talk to us a little bit about how IBT is useful to a professional and potentially helping them to complete their BCBA requirements.
Okay, so we do a couple different things. How we sort of got started was doing a lot of continuing education, and that's for people who are already BCBAs. So we offer online webinar classes. Some of our e-learnings are also available for continuing education credit for BCBAs and BCABAs. We also do an 8-hour supervisor level training. This is a requirement from the BACB that just passed this year, and will be required for everyone to take by the end of next year. So we're doing those all around the country right now. So we have New York and Austin coming up, and then Chicago and DC. But we also do those as an online webinar. In addition to the CEs, we also offer BCBA supervision for those who are wanting to become a BCBA. And I think that's what you were talking about, Shannon.
Yes, because we know that you have to be supervised by somebody, and so this is a solution for a lot of people to be supervised in this way. And also, you're providing these wonderful trainings. Correct me, did I hear right that every single BCBA is going to have to do this in the next year?
Yeah, so the 8-hour workshop, it's for every BCBA that supervises other BCBAs.
Okay.
So that's pretty much most all of them.
Okay, and it's an 8-hour training.
Right.
And so
a long day.
It is a very long day. So people can have a choice of doing that in person, and you're setting up cities around the country in which they can do that, or there's a way for them to do it on an online webinar way.
And e-learning. So we offer it in 3 different ways.
Okay, really incredible that you offer in all those ways. So for people who are interested in either being supervised as they're going for their BCBA, or to do this, they're already a BCBA and they want those continuing education credits and they want to take this really important training that's essential, how are they going to get hooked up with you? Where do they need to go?
So same thing, you go to our website at www.ibehavioraltraining.com, and then you just click on the tab that's called Continuing Education, and that lists all of our different options for all of our CE programs.
Okay, really remarkable. We thank you so much for being such a pivotal point of information, whether we're a parent, a teacher, practitioner, or someone who is trying to become a quality practitioner. You've got something for all of us, and we really appreciate that.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So we're going to take a short break, but want to encourage all of you to visit iBehavioral Training and see how it can help you. It really is remarkable, the things that you can learn there, and it's very affordable, very flexible, and essential for a lot of the things that we're trying to do. Like I said, whether you're a parent, teacher, practitioner, or studying to be a practitioner, you're going to find helpful information there. And by the way, a lot of the people who are doing those trainings, when you get the videos, are like the rock star people that we bring in here into the studio. Some of them are done by Dr. Jonathan Tarbox. And they are, most of the trainings that are available were filmed in this studio. So I got to hear a lot of them as they were making them happen, and they were riveting. So I encourage you to check them out. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stick with us.
Ready, guys? Cameras up. And action.
This is the second year of our Act a Day for Military Families Inclusion Film Camp, led by Joey Travolta with our fabulous partners, Cox Communications.
One of the wonderful things about this camp is that it allows these children to have a voice that they otherwise would not have. And it is a story of how lives can be transformed, new friends can be found, and they can excel in the right kind of learning environment.
Quiet on the set is a term we use when we need quiet. Filmmaking is about communication, and if everybody's talking over each other, you can't communicate. Everything that has to do with filmmaking goes into everyday life. So we use filmmaking as a vehicle to teach them to work together as a team and give them social skills and confidence.
What if we try something different and see if we like it better or not?
What about ghosts?
Want to try ghosts?
Yeah.
These kids, they all make a film from conception through the writing process, developing their own ideas. Then we write the script, we cast it, shoot it, edit it. At the end of the day, we end up with a realized project.
All right.
With kids on the autism spectrum, you never know what you're going to get. There's a lot of unpredictability, and so our staff is there to help provide sort of a comfort, a sense of ease, to try to be flexible within the inclusion film camp, because they're asking the kids to do a lot of things that they may be uncomfortable doing or that might be new to them.
Film is reality. It's what we do every day, right? And I'm realistically talking to you. And I'm having a conversation about cinema, which we all love. That's why we're here at this film camp.
The theme this year is the Inclusion Network. So what it is, it's like a TV network. So we have TV shows, we have movies, there'll be little news segments, we have TV commercials. They came up with some really great ideas.
Hey, here comes Joey to hear the pitch today.
Hey, how's it going? I'm sorry. Molly, I'm Joey. Nice to meet you. Explain the idea.
Our movie is about a corporation, and the 4 main characters, Fury, Death, War, and Strife, are former employees.
You know what? If someone came in and said their name was Fury or Death or Strife, that would send up a red flag right away. It's probably why they're not working anymore. Go ahead. Exciting thing about this collaboration, you have the core, which is Act Today for the military, which is how this whole thing started, and then the support of Cox Communication, because we didn't know whether we would be able to do this again this year. But they band together, they saw the importance of the program, and they're able to really have something special for the community. I mean, this being in the San Diego Film Festival as a special screening is huge.
Okay, let's have John come out there. Come on, John.
John loves this camp. It really gives him the hands-on time to work and to be among kids who have his interest.
John, how was this experience as you came all the way from Oregon to be in our film camp? Awesome! Awesome.
Michael happens to love making films, and he was so excited, and we saw a difference from day one. Michael, you want to say something about what this?
Did you love the camp?
Yes, I did very much.
I'm so glad you were able to do it this year. Would you come back next year?
Yes, I believe yes.
How was your experience this year at film camp, Mackenzie?
It was very, very rewarding. I thought it was a great experience, and I hope to do it again next year.
Last year after attending this camp, my son Mackenzie spoke in front of a group for the first time, and that was at school. And his teacher was so excited that she cried and then emailed me to tell me about it. So it was exciting. It's just one of those things that we've all gone through together. His growth has been phenomenal.
When you look at the challenges that occur when you have a special needs child in a family, but then you add on the military component of a deployed parent or relocation and the challenges that come with that, then it just starts to exasperate. And so if there's one space, one way that we can help a family here that belongs to the military, then we really can help change a life.
How many of you are military families? Raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do for our country. And we are there to help your kids. We'll be back next year. And I want to say that if they were casting a movie about superheroes, all of you would be the stars. You're all heroic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I want to do a shout out, first of all, to our friend Mike Hipple. Mike wrote this book, and we are going to be giving this book away. I just have to get it a little bit more set up, how we're going to give it away and when we're going to give it away. But Mike is a wonderful viewer and a guest that we have had on the show, and an inspiration to a lot of us around here. This is My School Journey, The Many Things I Have Learned, and I believe Mike is also working on a new book. And this cartoon that is featured here is Mike. Mike is in a wheelchair and uses assistive technology to speak, and is a great resource for those of us who have children or students who need assisted technology. And this is a great book to have if you have a classroom or if you have a child who is starting to use assisted technology, because he gives a lot of hope. Mike is wanting to be a therapist, a line therapist for autism, and I applaud that greatly. And Mike has written in with a specific request about wanting to know how this show came to be. And of course, my head goes to, do you want the Reader's Digest version or do you want the long version? Because the long version, and I'll try to be shorter with the long version, I can hear Emily cringing. You know, when my son was diagnosed with autism, it kind of changed the whole way in which my husband and I were going to move through our lives. And I will tell you quite honestly that it took away a lot of my personal ambition. That kind of, whatever energy I had for there got channeled into my kid. And then we got to a point where we were probably 3.5 years into his therapy, and my child had made so much progress that I felt that it was important for me to have a statement about to get back to that moment on my kitchen floor where I said, you know, help me to help my child, and I will do what is asked of me, and then I will find some way, hand to heaven, I will find some way to help somebody else, to help other families on this road with whatever I learn on this path. See, I'm gonna get emotional. So I was in a space where I was like, I need to get ambition for myself, and I need to get moving on this. I don't know what it's going to look like, and threw my hands up in the air and said, okay, you know, whoever is up there, I need you to help me to figure this out, because I have no idea what that looks like. I don't know whether I'm supposed to start a charity. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so I had a moment, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper and said, okay, I don't know, I'm looking for finding that thing that I'm going to do to be useful and helpful, and for it to go outside my house now. We've been focusing on our house. Let's make it go outside the house. I wrote it down. Within 24 hours, I got a phone call from somebody saying, hey, we're looking for someone to host a radio show. And we need somebody who, we got your name because we're looking for a radio show about having a child that has a disability, and or different capabilities. And, you know, here are some of the, you know, different things that we're looking for. And among them, we're specifically looking for a parent who has an upbeat look on things and is potentially funny. And we hear that you used to be a stand-up comedian years ago, and that you have a child with autism, and that you're pretty outspoken. Would you like a radio show? And I went, I have never done radio before. I have, you know, a background in theater and in acting, but I've never done radio before. But okay, sure. I said I will show up and do whatever is required of me, and if that's a way that I can help, I will do a radio show. And thus, we began on the journey for the radio show, Everyday Autism Miracles. And it was an amazing period of time in my life where I learned a great deal, and I got to meet a great many people. And understand that my child had been receiving services at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders for over 3.5 years at that point, but I had never met Dr. Doreen Graham-Piché. Never. I'd certainly seen her on TV, on Dr. Phil. I had heard wonderful things. I had been in this building. I just had never had the opportunity to meet her. Met so many other people and had my child helped in so many ways. But it was always on my bucket list to have Dr. Graham-Piché on. And so when it was the first radio show, I thought, who do I want my first guest to be? It has to be Dr. Doreen Graham-Piché. Who else could it be for my very first show? And she agreed to, you know, I still wasn't going to meet her. We were doing it across distance, but I got to speak to her on the phone and say thank you. And you know, that was an amazing thing. About 1.5 years later, I got an invitation to attend something at the Center for Autism and Related. It was very vague, didn't know exactly what it was, but came to and it was a focus group where I got to meet Dr. Graham-Piché, and she, for the first time, unveiled the skills program. And I always talk about it. It was a life-changing day for me because I saw a much bigger picture. A much bigger picture of how so many more people could be helped than I had previously thought were possible. For me, I kept thinking, how are we going to train enough therapists to be able to help everyone in every circumstance? How are we going to be able to get what they know at CARD so that more children can be helped? How on earth are we going to do that? I just didn't have an answer, and I prayed for it every day. And then here was skills, and I went, there it is. And I heard Dr. Graham-Piché speak on that day, and I will tell you that there were people who were in the room, people who are important people, you know what I'm talking about, people who have money and influence, who said to her in front of me, you should not do this. You should not release your curriculum. It's what makes CARD so impressive. You should not make it accessible to everyone. That's a bad idea. And Dr. Doreen Graham-Piché sat there and said, oh no, we're not doing that. I'm not going to worry about whether this is a good idea financially. We know we have an answer to autism, and we've known we've had it for enough time to be able to put this together. There is no way I'm going to sleep tonight unless we make this available to the world. And in that moment, I said, I will follow that woman wherever she goes. She and her team of people and what she has trained them to do have saved my child. And now that's why I always say she is a visionary. She has the vision to put this knowledge in so many people's hands. I will follow her to the ends of the earth. And I have chills right now talking about this. It was a life-changing day. I got into my car and I drove 2 blocks away from this building, and I called my husband and I said, I can't drive. I am so excited. I have never been so excited in my life. And I just so want to be a part of disseminating this information. We need to have this on a bigger, we need to reach more people, because people need to know that there are solutions. And there was a moment where I still didn't know what that looked like. And I love Oprah. If you watch the show, I love Oprah. And she had, why can I not think what his name is? He's one of the judges on American Idol. Emily, help me out. He's the one who's the country singer. It's Kenny. It's not Chesney. He's married to Nicole Kidman. I don't know why I can't think what his name is, but he was on Oprah's show and he was talking about what it is to have an open heart, and that when we open our hearts to things and we say, my heart is completely open to this, that amazing things happen. And Oprah said, there's the rub, because sometimes our heart can be 99% open to something, but 1% closed. And I thought, oh, what is my heart open to and what is my heart closed to? And my heart had been closed to working outside the home. I was afraid of what that would mean for my son. And in that moment, watching Oprah and her guest, I said, I'm going to open my heart to the possibilities of being able to help more families outside my home. I'm going to open my heart to that. And whatever comes, we'll make it work, right? And I'm not kidding you. I am not kidding you. Within 15 minutes, the phone rang and it was asking if I would like to create a show. And that is what this show has become. And so I'm a firm believer. I was saying earlier, make sure that you make a list of the things that you want to do, and then make the list of what you have in your plus column and see what you can't cook together. Because when we name something and say, okay, I'm open to this, it's amazing what can happen. It's amazing. And of course, it took us many months to put this show together, and we're still working on this show. We're still trying to make it what it can be to help and support all of you that are out there. And I am privileged on a daily basis to be able to be here with all of you, to hear your stories, to hear what you're working towards, whether it is that you're a parent working with a child, you're a teenager who's saying this is tough and I don't know how to get through this, whether you are the Mike Hipples of the world who are just the bravest people who say, people may look at me and see one thing, but there is ever so much more to me than what you see. And I've got a direction that I'm going and a way that I'm going to help people. I applaud all of you in your efforts. I can't begin to know the things that you go through on a daily basis, but I do relate to the fact that we're all in a space where there are things that we want and ways that we want to be of service to our kids, to ourselves, and to other people out there, and that there are ways for us to do that. We just have to open our heart, think outside the box a little bit, let our heart be open to what the universe brings to us, the ways in which we can do this. So I hope I haven't bored you, but Mike asked for me to tell the story of how the show happened. We're going to take a short break. I'm going to mop up, and then we're going to come back to finish out the week. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and this is my son, Jem. We're here today at the Home Depot. You might know that Home Depot is famous for giving free classes to adults on lots of things like tiling and other home crafts. Well, they also have free classes for kids as well. It's called the Kids Workshop. We love doing that, don't we, Jem?
Yeah.
It's cool. So come on inside with us and let's do a craft.
Yay.
The Kids Workshop is a program that's been around with Home Depot almost since we've been a company, and it's been developed to allow kids in the community to come in and give them an opportunity to build something, to be able to create something, and be able to take just simple wood pieces and put them together with nails and hammers and screwdrivers and then paint them.
So you do this every first Saturday of the month.
Any Home Depot that you go to on the first Saturday of every month between 9 and 12, you can join different associates throughout different stores and build these projects with these kids.
And do they have to do anything before beforehand, or can they just show up on that Saturday?
All they need to do is show up. We have all the tools, all the materials that the kids will need. We have aprons that we give to the kids that they can take home and maintain their pins. They get pins on a regular basis for completing projects. With that, they can keep track of how many projects they've done. And
it's all free.
It's all absolutely free, all provided.
Which is wonderful. And Wilson, I have to say, you know, you guys devised this for all kids to be able to do this.
Correct.
What I particularly love about it as an autism mom, it gives my child a place to come and learn a new skill, to socialize with kids of all kinds.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. Home Depot is definitely loves to be involved with the community and bring the community in to work with us. That's what we love to do.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I've mopped up a little bit, and somebody wrote in and said it's Keith Urban. Of course it's Keith Urban that I was talking about before, the fabulous Keith Urban. The life-changing Keith Urban, because if he hadn't brought that up, who knows where I would be right now. So thank you for writing and reminding me of that. And of course, you just watched the Home Depot video, and I was saying to Emily, we need to put, you know, some sort of thing at the bottom of that saying, this is Shannon with crazy hair. It looks like I have a wig on, but that is my real hair. I don't know what to say other than that. This is why my son started saying to me, Mom, you know, wear a hat on windy days because my friends say you have crazy hair. Okay. But, you know, we celebrate that too, because the fact that my son cared what his friends thought of my crazy hair, woohoo, right? I just had the conversation the other day where my son lied at length, told this really long, involved lie to get out of being in trouble for something. And I said, you know, being an autism parent, it changes your perspective on so many things, because any other parent would have been concerned, upset, probably punishing. And I was like, I have to maintain some sort of neutrality because I'm so excited that he is telling this really involved lie. I just was, you know, doing the dance because it's total perspective taking. Total perspective taking. And I know other people don't understand. And can I tell you that also it had to do with he used inappropriate language in something that he wrote at school, like on the third day of school. And the teacher was concerned about it, and I asked him about it, and he told this big involved lie about how somebody must have written it the year before, this particular word that he used, and so when he spell checked it, it must have spell checked it and put that word in, and that sometimes it does that he himself did not write that word, right? And then of course we pared it down, and then eventually he admitted that he did it. Because I always tell him, you know, it's really important to not lie and to tell Mom the truth and to take ownership when you make a mistake, and that I expect you to make mistakes and all of these things. And of course the teacher was concerned about him using that language too, but he used it for the swear word in the way in which he used it appropriately, socially appropriately. It was inappropriate in the context in which he did it, but it's something that his friends probably are saying now and will be saying throughout life. And so I was going like, he's lying and he's using appropriate language appropriately. And the poor teacher was just so concerned. And I was trying very hard to look serious and go, yes, that's very concerning. We'll be on top of that. And we will, and we are. But it was thrilling. It was thrilling. I know people don't understand us, but I know that you guys understand. I have some programming notes for you for next week. Of course, we're not here on Monday because here in the United States, we celebrate Labor Day. And on Labor Day, we do not labor. Isn't that ironic? It is the day for labor to take off and to have picnics and eat watermelon and engage in water sports and to no longer wear white pants afterwards. I have white pants on today in celebration of the fact that I probably am not allowed to. I know there's winter white now that we can. But in any case, so this is why we do not have a show on Monday. We will also not have a show on Tuesday. We have some things that we have to do in film on Tuesday. So our next live show, are you ready for this, is Wednesday, my favorite day of the week. So the next time we will be joining you, it will be because we have Dr. Doreen Grampachet with us. And we also will have Nancy Alspot-Jackson. She's going to be reading portions of that letter that the mom wrote to the person who left the note on her car saying that she didn't look like she really needed a handicap spot. And that will be entertaining in and of itself because you will watch Nancy Alspot-Jackson's head removed from her body and fly around the room and smoke come out of her ears, about the fact that this person would actually leave a note on somebody's car saying who has the time for that, right? But it's a great letter. If you haven't seen it on the Huffington Post on Wednesday, Nancy Alspaugh Jackson will be sharing that with you, and I promise you it will be entertaining. And so programming note, no show on Monday, no show on Tuesday. We will be back on Wednesday. All throughout this long weekend, you can be sending in your questions on the live feature for Dr. Grandpichet and putting them on the Facebook. I will be checking in from time to time on the Facebook. Do not feel, I know I said it was going to take some time to talk about over this holiday, do not feel alone. If you've got 3 days with no support services coming into your home or no place to take your child to, check out some of those e-learnings. Find something that you can be doing. Find time to just be with your child. It may be that, maybe you can find the time this weekend. Don't clean the house. Get down on the floor with them. Do the repetitive thing that they're doing. If they're lining up the cars, line up the cars with them. You can do that for a couple of minutes and then crash into the cars. If you've got a child who only wants to play video games, make them walk around the block with you. Do something a little bit different, something that's worthwhile for you and your child. Have patience with it. Have patience with yourself. Whether it's a young child on the spectrum or you've got a 25-year-old on the spectrum, try to find some time this weekend to just be. And then try to find some time to work on something in a way that's rewarding for both you and them. That's my big advice for this weekend. I know we're laying low, not going any place this weekend, and I'm so excited about it that I'm just thrilled. So we're out of time. We'll see you next Wednesday. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.